So today I'm going to talk about CSR in generic and specifically CSR in India. So that is uh, the topic that I'm going to discuss today. And I learned that Ramanujan College TLC is organizing online refresher course in commerce and management. And I believe this is the third day. So let me begin the topic. So when you really look at the idea of CSR, so CSR specifically in Indian context is not a new phenomena, though the nomenclature that we had, it was definitely was not known as a CSR. But the roots of CSR in India was very old routes that we used to have in Indian context. But definitely the nomenclature you could have also seen. You can also see a lot of either you call it charitable work or you call it giving back to the society. So you will find a lot of evidence of CSR in India. So it may be connected with the religious activity, it may be connected with the faith. So even in roadside, you will find inns, you will also find some water supply, you will also find some tree plantation. So even in Indian context, very long period of time, the roots of CSR was available. So let me very quickly give you the background of CSR. So in modern era, so when I'm talking about the modern era, so I'm talking about the 40s. So till until the 40s, the business and not their owners or shareholders could support charities. So this is a global kind of scenario that I'm sharing. I've already said that Indian context, lot of things has been done, lot of temples was created, lot of charitable institutions has been created, free of cost medicines was given to the people, and lot of what you call the social welfare measures was taken by the industry people. So when you look at the global perspective, so there was an American economist called Howard Bavin, and Grinnell. So he come from Grinnell College. He was the president, and he is often cited as a father of CSR. So when we really look at the global perspective of corporate social responsibility, so we do have roots of CSR, and especially when you look at the father of CSR. So Howard Bowman was considered as a father of corporate social responsibility. So by training, he was an American economist. He connected the responsibility of corporations to society and published a book in 1953. So when you really look at the linkage between the corporation, what we call it companies, or the business houses and the society, so that connection has to be established. And Howard Brogan was the one who really established the connection. I've already spoke about in my opening remark about how the Indian business house were contributing for the social causes. But when we really look at from the evidences point of view, so we found several evidences from the Western, especially from the American context. So Howard Govin was the one who really established the connection between the corporations and the society. He published a book in 1953, and he advocated of business ethics and responsive to the societal stakeholders called social responsibilities of the businessman. So the point that has been made here, so when we really look at the various stakeholders of business, so definitely people who are working for the business, so it means what? It means their own employee. The second is stakeholder, the society where we are operating business. So that is the consumer or the society by and large. So we should not confine with a very narrow definition of society here. Sometimes it has been observed that people like your consumers are only the stakeholder. So it's not the case. When we really look at the industry, when we really look at the corporate that are operating in XYZ society, So they are also all members, whether they are consumers or they are not a consumer. You may be aware about, like, if any factory has been established in XYZ place. So in case there is a manufacturing, so somewhere is also affecting the ecological system of that residential area or the corporate area that we are in. So the point is larger here. So point is basically there should be a business ethics and responsiveness to the societal stakeholders. So, who may be the stakeholders? It may be the corporates, the people within the corporates, so like their own employee. The second stakeholder is important, those who are contributing to the operations of the business. So, basically, vendors or the suppliers. So, in case if you look at the chain of various stakeholders. So you will also find the another kind of stakeholder. The third important stakeholder is your consumers, of course. So your responsibility also goes with the consumers. The major important part, even those who are not your consumers or customer, you have to be responsible as a business organization to them as well. So when I was talking about the ecological system, so at times due to the industrialization, so a lot of environmental issues are also taking place. So we are also responsive as a business house or as a business organization. So our responsibility also goes with the environmental concerns. And when you really look at the current research, so a lot of focus has been given to the areas, contemporary areas like renewable energy, contemporary areas like environmental concerns. So a lot of summits, symposium, conferences are taking place how to address the problem of environment. So it's not only the problem of one generation, it's like what we are going to leave behind the legacy in terms of environment for the next generation. So when I am referring the term social responsibility, responsiveness or the social responsibility, so it's a huge term that I am referring here. Then I'll also go back with the other historical perspective. So CSR truly began in US in 70s when the concept of social contract between business and society was declared by the Committee of Economic Development in 1971. So this is the employee perspective part. I will not go into the detail about employee perspective, but I'll just give you some brief about how the rights of employees were also taken care. So this is in like in US context. So contract has been started, and the term that has been referred here is social contract. You can also see in India. I will also try to compare what we had in India. So during approximately during independence, so India also have lot of labor legislations. Almost 50 labor legislations was there, and they were advocating about the rights of laborers, right of employees. And now I can also share with you the current recent change. So the all almost all labor legislation has been converted into the industrial codes. So we have 4 industrial codes in place, and they represent. So there are merits and demerits. So I will not go into the merits and demerits of these industrial codes, especially 2020 codes. But I'll just share with all August audience here. Let me come back again about the social contracts that was taking place in 70s in US. So that was also kind of social responsibilities. So social contract was based on idea that business functions because of public consent. Therefore, business has an obligation to constructively serve the need of the society. So the term social contract, I think it has a very huge value, very significant value. So idea was that there must be a responsibility. So for the need of the society are concerned. People can just simply figure it out what are the needs of the society. So I was just trying to give you the social contract, the whole idea of social contract, and so need of the society can be easily identified. So it can be the region specific, it can be the global. So I was just referring the global example of pandemic COVID-19. So everywhere there was a need of R. If any business or the society was contributing for the betterment of the society, so that could be considered as a need of the R. Then it is often referred to today as a license to operate, that is to contribute more to society than solely their products for sale. So this is very, very meaningful statement which is written here. So it's not only confined to the business operation. So here in this room, all most almost everyone in this room, not almost everyone in this room is from commerce and management background. So one of the focal area of commerce and management is sales. Because why we are calling it as a sales? Because ultimately revenue come from the sales function, but it does not mean that we are ignoring the social aspect, which is responsibility of corporate social responsibility. Then let me also talk about very quickly the social contract. So when we really look at what are the three responsibilities, and still they are applicable, though these concepts were discussed, evolved in 1970s, and we are in 2022, almost end of 2022. So even after 50 years, all these are very much applicable. So let me very quickly talk about the three basic responsibility which were outlined so far the social contract is concerned. So first one is provide jobs and economic growth through well-run business. Very important area. So even countries like ours, where unemployment is a very, very big issue. So when we really look at the idea of social contract, so we must offer we must be in position to offer jobs to the people who are unemployed, and we must contribute to the economic growth. So that was one of the focal area so far the social contract is concerned. Now you can also see whenever the new industry comes, the new industry is creating lot of job avenues, and they are also contributing to the economic growth. I will not go to the Tata Nano case, though it was opposed in West Bengal, then it has to be sifted in Sangrur, Punjab. So I will not go about that. We are well versed about all these cases. Again, I'll come back and I will confine to the social contract part. So one of the objective of social contract is providing jobs and economic growth. Second is run the business fairly and very important. So whenever you are operating any business, so you have to operate with utmost fairness and with the honesty. So idea of fairness is whatever may be the compliances by the state government or by the union government, or by whatever may be the, so you have to operate your business with utmost fairness and honesty as well. So who are the people in the ecosystem? So people in the ecosystem are employees, customers, or your vendors. So these primarily 3-4 people are there. And the society at large. So you should not do any harm to the people, even who are indirectly or directly associated with you. So I have already talked about the environment part. So one of the reason of very heavy or rigorous industrialization also created a lot of ecological problems. Then third important responsibility is become more broadly involved in improving the condition of the community and environment in which it operates. So again, that is a very important area where the focus is talking about. So you can just contribute in the enhancing the living standard of the people where you are contributing. So how the business can help the people? where they are operating, so they can create job venues. They can also contribute in living standards, and they can also contribute like in environment. So you can also see the tree plantation drives are taken care by XYG. Some parks are also adopted. A lot of community-based projects are also funded. At times, it's also adopted by the corporates. Very quickly, I will also talk about in 1976. So Professor Sandra Holmes conducted a survey on CSR and found how decision on which causes to support were made. Her results from the executive perceptions of CSR can boil down to. So very important and significant contribution has been made by Professor Holmes. And so her focus was when we really look at executive perception, so utilizing the corporation's ability to help a specific need, very important. For example, if you are in a remote area of Northeast, so the need of the Northeast is different from the metropolitan cities like Delhi, NCR, or for that purpose, Mumbai. So corporations' ability to help a specific need. For example, or the tribal area of Chhattisgarh, so needs are different. So this is one of the area that has been suggested by the Helms. Corporations can definitely identify the specific need. Severity of a social need. For example, like Punjab, I'll give you another example from our own country. So one of the problem is a lot of people, there is a popular term called Udta Punjab. So Udta Punjab, everybody understand why it is called Udta Punjab. So drug addiction. So this is one of the problems that has been highlighted. But on the other hand, so there are other things which are very, very good. Like for example, agriculture, dairy production, and other industries. But coming back to the CSR point of view, so severity of social need. So some movement can be organized to the specific territory, specific region. Then executive interest, very important area that has been identified by the Professor Holmes was PR gained from the action. So public relations or goodwill. If XYZ company doing a social cause, so definitely the company will earn a lot of goodwill. Company will earn have a very strong public relations, right? You could have also seen the whole advertisement by XYZ company. And the lastly is government influence. So these were few things on account of one of the study carried out by Professor Holmes. And very quickly, I will talk about one of the authority in CSR called Carroll. And Professor Carroll has come up with the three-dimensional conceptual model of corporate performance, which was created a model to make CSR less nebulous. So what I'll do very quickly, I will talk about the Carroll's model, and the Carroll has talked about. So this model was like evolution of CSR, and which was debuted in 1985, and there were three pronged approach. So first approach was ethics approach, and second important area of model was how they would respond. So first you can call it ethical part. Second you can call it a responsiveness part. Third is managing specific issues. So the idea of Carroll was to come up with a three important dimensions of his model. And what are the three important dimensions? One was ethics, and second was responsiveness. Third is managing specific issues. So these were the three important areas. I can further explain these areas. So one is companies adopted principles. So every company has its own mission and vision by which they are governed in. that also have ethical part. Then second is created and executed formal processes, like how they are going to operate. So for example, if like some chemical factory has to be set up in XYZ place, so they have to take care about how the society is least affected by their operations. Then we have to really develop the policies. What are the policies that has to be executed? So I will not spend much time on theoretical part. So far, like a lot of, I will try to move into the some other part how that happened in India. So very quickly, I will skip this slide. These are I'll share my slides with all participants. So I'll directly come to the meaning of CSR. So how people are going to define CSR? So CSR can be defined as a continuous commitment. So it's not a commitment for 1 year or 2 year or maybe 5 years. So how it is defined? It is defined as a continuous commitment on the part of business to act in ethical manner and simultaneously contribute towards the economic development by enhancing holistically the quality of life of local community, workforce, and society. So I think it's very, very comprehensive definition of CSR given by Home and Boss, and this was given in 2000. It covers quality of life of local community. I have only one difference here, or difference of opinion so far the definition is concerned. It should not be confined to the local community. I'll give you one example from Tata. So TCS, one of the company of Tata is TCS, is truly multinational corporation. So they are not confined to the local community. They are also extending their CSR activities even where they are not operating in. Otherwise, when you really look at the definition of CSR, so I found this definition is one of the comprehensive definition. So the next important part is CSR is not only about following strict compliance laid as mandatory legal obligation, but also voluntary participation by business in governance, management, respect for human rights, strategies and policies, concerns related to society, labor, environment, managing harmonious and transparent business practices. So that is the basic purpose. Like it's not only, I'll also talk about in my few slides, the legal provisions. So India is the first country who came up with the law of on CSR. Other countries, it's like voluntary. So I also strongly believe that though there is legislation in India, but more important part, the idea of CSR, the practices of CSR must come from the heart. So these are some research based. So one was shared by Home and Watts. The second was Vernal and Kansa and the others in 2017. So they also talk about very comprehensive discuss about CSR. Given by the Martin and Moon in 2004. So I'll not discuss that, but I would like to discuss very important definition given by the Carroll, and it was given in 1983. So what Carroll has, how Carroll has defined CSR. So he categorically said it. CSR involves the conduct of a business. Very important when we really talk about the business processes, practices. So that's the conduct of business. So that economically profitable, law-abiding, ethical, and socially supportive, which highlight the relationship between company and its stakeholders. So when we really review the various definitions given by the authorities of CSR, we come to know about stakeholders. Nobody is ignoring the stakeholders. And again, I'm repeating the stakeholders, be it employee, customer, vendor, the people who are directly, indirectly involved with your business operation. So very quickly, let me talk about Carroll's pyramid. So there are four important components of Carroll's pyramid on CSR. So first one is economic responsibility, be profitable. So some of the philosophers think that profiting is unethical. I don't agree with the point, because until unless you don't make a profit, you cannot serve the society, or you may not have an extended CSR program. Then we have a second important part is legal responsibility, obey the law. So US has very rigorous law, but not directly with CSR, but they have a very important laws relating to the employees, related to the buyers, related to the consumers, safety and other stuff. But in India, we have law related to the CSR. So I'll also talk about that in few next slides. Then the next is ethical responsibility. Be ethical, do what is right, avoid harm. So that's very important part. So you should not be engaged or involved in any activity which is harming to the others. When I'm referring others, so I'm talking about be it your competitor, be the employee from the competitor. So you are not going to harm anyone. So that is the ethical responsibility. And the last responsibility is discretionary responsibility. Contribute to the community, be a good corporate citizens. So wherever there is a severity, you must address it. Wherever there is some urgent need, so being a corporate, you must try to reach out. You must have an outreach program. You must try to contribute to the economic growth. Try to address there are severe needs. So I will skip Carroll models because we have discussed in detail. So there are four pillars of Carroll model. So one pillar is economic, second is legal, third is ethical, and fourth is the practical. So these are very important component of Carroll's model. Here I will talk about some historical perspective of CSR from the Indian context. So we have Artha Veda. One should procure wealth with 100 hands and distribute it with 1,000 hands. So that speaks in volume so far the Artha Veda is concerned. Then we also have Yajur Veda, Rig Veda. So they are all talking about, they are all preaching about we must contribute to the society. It's also talking about like earning, then a certain amount of earning should also go to the social cause. Here I would also like to quote Kautilya. Kautilya emphasized ethical practices and principle while conducting a business. Kautilya is one who is also very popular for his political thought, and he is also very popular for his economic thoughts. Uh, so here I'm just shared with all August audience about his economic thought. Let me also talk about how Islam is or other faiths are also talking about CSR. So Islam had a law called zakat, which ruled that in a portion of one's earning must be shared with poor in the form of donation. So that is the perspective of Islam. Sikhism also very significantly contributed, and there is a linkage about CSR and Sikhism. So similar to Islam's zakat, Sikhs followed what they called dagan. So the basic idea of these practices is certain amount of earning must we go to the social cause, be it in the form of service, be it in the form of social, be it in the form of donation, or be it in the form of any other cause. So serving the society may have a numerous ways. So some people are coming up with a charitable trust, hospital. Some of them are coming, they are contributing to education. Some of them are contributing to the public health. So depend on what kind of practice that you want to follow. Here, Gandhiji also came up with the idea of trusteeship. So again, keeping in mind the time constraint. So I will not go into the detail about Gandhiji's story about the trusteeship. So, but here I want to say one of the thought that's very, very popular. So Gandhiji used to say about two important parts, greed and need. So what was his thought? His thought was on planet we have enough for the need, but we have very less for the greed. So that speaks in volume so far the Gandhi's theory so far need and greed is concerned. There is also very, very popular saying in Hindi which goes like this, Jitna prapt hai, utna paryapt hai. So whatever we got is sufficient for us. But I'm not saying that we should not work for more resources or the betterment for the living standards. But so far the need and greed is concerned, somewhere we must have a balance between the need and greed. That's what the whole idea of Gandhi's philosophy. We can discuss in detail so far the trusteeship is concerned, but keeping in mind the time constraint. So I want to move on to these are few research done by the Bala and Singh in 2014. I will leave my slides with the organizers so that can be shared with participants. So very quickly, let me talk about how CSR really evolved over the period of time in India. So when you really look at 2007, so adoption of inclusive growth, it was 11th five-year plan. So earlier we used to have 5-year plan. So first adoption of inclusive growth came in 2007. Then in 2009, voluntary guidelines on CSR was issued. And 2010, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Finance. So they reported was the first report on companies bill 2009. Then 2011, National Voluntary Guidelines on Social Environment and Economic Responsibilities of Business was presented. Then 2012 became very, very important when business responsibility reporting was introduced. And in 2014, mandatory provision of CSR under Section 135 of Companies Act 2013 came into the existence or came into the effect from 1st April 2014. So this is whole history of CSR in India. So you can see the milestone. So significantly, it started from 2007 and that came into the practice by 2014. I can also share with you the important section when we really look at Companies Act 1956. So CSR was not there, but when we when we really look at Companies Act 2013, same act was amended in the year 2013, and significantly CSR was added. So there is a whole legislation about that. So in the interest of time, I'm doing some of the research. But let me also share with you. So every company is not liable to have their CSR. So there are certain conditions for it. And what are the conditions? First condition is net worth exceeding 5,000 million. People can also see the condition in terms of crores, but keeping in mind the global figure, so I have written here million. Otherwise, you can convert into the crores. In original legislation, it's written into the crores. Then the second criteria is whose annual turnover exceed 10,000 million, or whose profit exceed 5 million during any financial year, and average over the past 3 years on CSR expenditure, they must spend 2% of their net profits on CSR activity. So these are the terms and conditions which are the companies who supposed to do the CSR activities. It is not that a chai wala or pan wala operating in front of your college or adjacent to your college or university, so they are also liable to CSR. They are not. So there are certain conditions that I have shared with all of you. So only these corporations should spend their CSR activities. So there would be a committee, and who all would be in that CSR committee, formulate and recommend the board a CSR policy, recommend the amount of expenditure to be incurred in the activities, and monitor CSR policy for the company from time to time. So that is going to be the role of CSR committee. And there would be a board. Every company referred in subsection 1 will have a board, and there are also a responsibility of board. So recommendation may be by CSR committee, approve the CSR policy, and company and disclosure contents of the policy in its report. So basic idea is, so they have to, committee and board supposed to work in hand. So whatever may be the recommendation of CSR committee, it has to be in align with board. So board and CSR committee both are working in hand. Then very quickly, I want to discuss with all academicians here, all my fellow friends from various colleges and university. So Schedule 7 of Companies Act 2013 talk about in what area the CSR project can be executed. So eradication of extreme hunger, poverty, promoting education. When we really talk about education, so it may be the primary education, secondary education, or higher education, vocational education. So you can pick up any area. Within that area, you can have some subdivisions as well. Gender equality, women empowerment, reduction of child mortality. So during independence or in 60s, so India used to have a very high child mortality rate. Now, luckily, we don't have that much high mortality rate, but still it can be one of the CSR activities. Then improvement in mental health, immune deficiency virus. So this is the whole area of public health. The next area could be ensuring environmental sustainability, enhancing of vocational skills, very important. So nowadays, a separate Ministry of Skill Development has been created. So CSR project can be aligned with vocational, and that may lead for the employment. The next important area where the CSR project can be done, the companies or the corporates can contribute to the PM NRF, Prime Minister National Relief Fund, and they may take any undertaking social business projects. This is the legal aspect. So there are 7 areas, not 7, there are 10 areas where the companies can contribute, but it's not confined to these areas. The company may also roll out the program keeping in mind the severity of needs. So recently we have seen COVID-19. So a lot of project has been done so far the COVID-19 pandemic or outbreak is concerned. We also have some natural disasters in India. So a lot of companies had their project on natural disasters. So very quickly, I want to share some of the figure and facts about CSR. So this is the total number of companies, total amount spent on CSR, and how many states and union territories have been covered, total number of CSR projects, and what are the development sectors entered by the companies. So when you really look at the statistics or when you really look at the figures, so so you can make it out very easily that lot of work has been done. So even number of companies, number of state, so almost every state is fairly doing good. Total 36 states and union territory has been covered. Let me also share with you what are the development sectors. So these are the tables here. So it's talk about the development sector and amount spent financial years. So what I did for last 5 years, though it's 20th is not concerned, I can also get you the new data about that. But it's very, very significant table, keeping in mind what are the development sectors and how the money has been spent. So you can easily compare which one is a very important sector from the CSR point of view and which one is ignored sector from the CSR point of view. So you can make a comparison and you can see which financial year who did what in what sector. The next slide is also talking about what are the sectoral, though it can be done from the previous slide as well. So other areas like Swachh Bharat, Clean Ganga, rural development, slum development, education, development and livelihood projects, health and sanitation, encouraging sports. So this is also one of the areas. Then armed forces. I also want to share with you very important statistics about so far the contribution of companies are concerned. We have two kind of companies. One is listed companies and another is unlisted company. So major component, major chunk come from the unlisted companies. So I need not to tell with you which are listed company, which are unlisted company. So 9% comes from the listed companies and 91% comes from unlisted company. So you can see so major chunk of CSR comes from the unlisted company. Then you can also see here, like so far the compliances it's concerned. So zero spent, 59% are the companies which have no CSR projects, 23% less than the prescribed. You can see, you can make, so pictorial presentation is there, but it does not mean like there are a few companies which has spent more than 2%. When we really talk about in terms of legal compliances, yes, 2% must be spent, but law does not say that you should spend 2% only. There is no upper ceiling so far CSR expenditure is concerned. Yes, I do agree with you. The bare minimum is 2%, and that is to the certain conditions. Then there's some fact sheet which talk about state-wise expenditure, starting from military Andaman Nicobar to the Andaman Nicobar to the last is West Bengal. So you can also see the 5 years comparison starting from 2014 to 2019, because this is the base year. When you revisit the presentation, so you will learn that actual execution of CSR. Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Thank you. So very quickly, let me also give you some glimpse so far. CSR spend and state-wise is concerned. So Maharashtra is leading one, and when you really look at the states, so Uttar Pradesh is in top 10. I'm talking about the top 10. So Uttar Pradesh is not really doing well. One of the recent research that I did, it was sponsored by Indian Council of Social Science Research. I studied CSR in Northeast India. So the entire Northeast India having 8 states, popularly known as the seven sisters, but there is also one brother. Altogether, there are 8 states. So I studied Northeast India. If you keep aside the Assam, then the rest of the 7 states, we don't have very significant projects presence of CSR. Let me also give you the companies, like what are companies, what are the top 10 companies. Reliance Industry is topping that. And there is also a public sector company called NTPC, which is also figuring in. Then this part I am skipping because everybody is well versed about how the CSR has been done. But I must share with all participants here one of very, very important saying that comes from our philosophy. So, which goes like Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramya, Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu, Ma Kaschid Bhag Bhave. So it means what? सभी सुखी हों, सभी रोग मुक्त रहे, सभी मंगलमय घटनाओं के साक्षी बने और किसी को भी दुख का भागी न बनना पड़े. So this is kind of Indian philosophy that we have. So there is also, when we really talk about Indian philosophy, so there are different other faiths, different other philosophies are also there. According to Buddhism philosophy, so it says, may all beings be happy. So it's the similar that I just shared with all of you. Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina. Though they also have a Sanskrit translation which says, Bhavatu Sarva Mangalam. So it's all beings be happy. We are not confined to the human beings. We are also praying to the God, praying to the Almighty to take care of all being, be it tree, be it plants, be it other important component of ecosystem. So I try to skip few of the slides, keeping in mind the interest, the question and answer. So I stop here and